We're now we're now up to Daf Yudam and Beis. V'lema le meimar ba'adei. And here on Daf Yudam and Beis, why did Rebbe advise Antoninus in this strange way with Mishalim? Why did he tell him straight away? And the answer is Omar Shami Chashuve Romi. Maybe the dignitaries of Rome will overhear me, umitzarile, and they'll persecute him. Meaning the Romans will persecute him because he's so friendly with the Jew. So Lemele Balachash, why couldn't Antoninus just simply whisper? Sorry, why couldn't Rebbe just whisper into the ear of Antoninus? Yolich esakol. The bird of the sky will carry him. Meaning, you can't have a private conversation with someone so important as Antoninus. People are going to find out about it, and the conversation will not remain secret. Havi le'ahu parta dishma gora ka'avad ka'avda isura. Antonius had a daughter who unfortunately was influenced by a group of bad men, and she had an adulterous relationship. And Antonius wanted to ask Rebbe's advice whether or not he should put her to death. And once again, Rebbe has to answer with a riddle. Shadole gargira. Okay, this gargira is some sort of a rocket herb. And he meant to convey the message that the heart of his daughter has been drawn towards sin. So again, this is the message that Antoninus sends to Rebbe. Shadole, Rebbe responds, kusbarta, coriander. Now, for some reason, I'm not exactly sure why, maybe you can help me with this. The inner meaning of what Rebbe was saying is execute your daughter. It seems that the word kusbarta is made up of two smaller words. One is kus, which means to execute, and barta is a daughter. Shadole karti. So Antonius responds with a karsi. A karsi is what we call in English a leak. And basically was saying that karti would be cut off completely, meaning there'll be nothing left from my lineage because all I have left is a daughter. And now you can have her executed. So Rebbe says, you know what? You can have mercy on her. Send a lettuce. Well, lettuce is the word chasa from the word chas. Chasa le means to have mercy on her. Kol yom havi shader le dahava pricha b'matrasa. On a daily basis, we'll see how Antoninus pulled this off. He used to send Rebbe crushed gold in leather sacks, but he didn't want anyone to find out that Antoninus, was sending gold to a Jew, meaning to Rebbe. So what did he do? On the opening of this leather sack, he would place wheat. So people think that's what's inside his wheat. Amalahu, he tells his messengers, we'll see who these messengers are, they're not great tzaddikim, bring this wheat to Rebbe. Amalei Rebbe. So Rebbe said to him, well, why are you sending me all this gold? Lo trichna, I'm a wealthy guy, I don't need your gold. Isli tuva, I have plenty. Omar Antoninus replies, lehevi leman div basrech, leave it for your children as a Yerusha. And they will indeed pass it on to the next generation. The asu basra, the asu minayu, nepakalai. It could be that your grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so forth and so on will need to pay my successors because my successors won't have the same love for you and your offspring as I do. There was a cave. That's again today. It's all about the tunnels. So there was a cave. This cave connected the house of Rebbe all the way to the house of Antoninus. Every day, Antoninus, when he went to the cave to speak to Rebbe, he would have two guards who are servants to accompany him through the cave for security purposes. Chad Katle Habava the Rebbe, unbelievable. Antoninus would kill one of the two servants at the door of Rebbe's house before he went in. Vechad Katle Habava the Beis, and the other who would accompany him back to his home on the way back, he would kill him at the door of his own house. Now the first say, how could this be? How could they just kill these people? And the answer is these were people that were first-class criminals that had violated capital crimes and would deserve it of death in any event. I don't know if Antoninus just took a sword out and killed them. I don't know exactly. He says here to keep his visits to Rebbe absolutely secret, Antoninus killed the servants who accompanied him through the cave. He chose only servants who had committed crimes, which the penalty was execution. Both would go with him to Rebbe's house. Upon arrival there, he would separate them and kill them, one and then the other. Amalei. Antoninus says to Rebbe, "Be'idna diasina, when I come to your house, lo nishka kvar kamach, there shouldn't be anyone around, because then the word's going to get out. Yom achad ashkei l'Rebbe Chanina bar Chama dehavi Yosef." Antoninus discovers, lo and behold, who's sitting in the house of Rebbe? It's none other than Rabbi Chanina bar Chama. And Antoninus has said that when I come to visit your house, make sure no one can be found with you. Omar, so Antoninus says to Rebbe, Lo aminucha, did I not? It's a rhetorical question. Aminucha be'idna diasina lo nishka kvar. Even no one should be there with you, because otherwise the word will get out, and I'll be in deep trouble. Amalei, Rebbe responds, less dain bar inish. Rebbe tells Antoninus that Rab Chanina bar Chama is an angel. He's not a man. Amalei, Antoninus says to Rebbe, Lemalei lahu avda degoni abava dekaim v'leise. Tell the servant who is sleeping by the door, he was dead, to wake up and come in. So this is the way Antoninus was testing to see if Rab Chanina bar Chama was indeed an angel. Also, Rab Chanina bar Chama, ashkei davi ketil. Lo and behold, he thought the guy was sleeping and he was dead. Omar, he says, hey, Chiev, what should I do? Vacillates back and forth. If I go back to Antoninus and I tell him the servant was killed, we have a principle that you don't report something with bad news on your way back. In other words, I was sent on a mission, now we're back on a mission, and now I want to report back to the one who sent me and tell him that there's bad news. On the other hand, Ashbekei v'ezel, let's say I leave him alone, this dead guy, this Eved that's outside and I'll go my own way, is come as Alzalina b'malchusa. It's basically an insult to the king. Because the king asked me to go out and come back and not to go your merry way. So don't insult the king. What should I do? Boy, Rachme Aleh, Rab Chanina bar Chama prayed for God to have mercy on the dead man. Now we're going to see that Rab Chanina bar Chama is really an angel. Omar, Antoninus said, Yodana zute de ispechu chayim. I now know that the least among you can resurrect the dead. This Rabbi Chanina bar Chama is not a famous Jew, and yet he was able to be Mechayim Mesim. Is miu be'idna dasina lo nishkach inish kamach. Nevertheless, I insist that when I come to visit you, no one should be around. Kol yoma dahavi mishamesh l'Rebbe, unbelievable. Antoninus, the emperor of Rome, would come and pour the cup of Rebbe to drink and bring him food. Mamish served him tooth and nail, head to toe. And not only that, this Gemara, by the way, says the same thing about one of the Amoraim regarding his mother. I think it was Rabbi Tarfon, one of the Tanoim, and his level of kibbut avim and kiddush daf lamed aleph. Kavi boy Rebbe lemesik lepuria. The bed was very high. You could have to climb a ladder, but havi gochin kame puria. Antoninus would bend over, and Omalei, and he said to Rebbe, "Sak Eloi lepuria, climb on top of my back onto your bed." Omar, Rebbe said, "No, lav hurach al zuzulim alchusa kulihai. I respect you because you are a king. It's a zilzul. It's improper for me to treat you, so disrespectfully and climb onto your back." These words should be immortalized. Antonius says to Rebbe, "Oh, if only I could be the mat beneath your feet in the world to come." Amalei Antoninus says to Rebbe, "Asino lialma diasi. Do I have a share in the world to come?" Amalei, you have a share to Rebbe. Amalei, Antoninus is not a slouch. He says, "Vaksiv." What about the pasuk in Ovadia, first chapter? Again, Ovadia only has one chapter, but anyway, Amalei Vaksiv lo yeh sarid lebeis Esav. There will be no remnant to the house of Esav. So how could it be that I would have a portion of the world to come? This pasuk seems to indicate that the descendants of Esav, Edom, Moab, Rome, whoever it is, will not enter the world to come. And the answer is, says Rebbe, Biosa Maisa Esav. If somebody acts the way Esav acts, then Enochanami lo yesarid lebeis Esav. But that doesn't include someone like you, Antoninus, who is not at all acting in a manner of Esav. So there's a long footnote here, which we're not going to go through the whole thing, but he points out that righteous Gentiles, which are called Chasidi Umas HaOlam, will enter the world to come. Tanya Nami Hachi, V'lo yes Sagid Lebeis Esav, which seems to imply that no one will survive from the house of Esav. Yachal HaKol, does it include all of Edom? Tamaloma Lebeis Esav, Biosa Maisa Esav. Right? We're talking about somebody who acts in the manner of Esav. He's condemned, otherwise he'll enter into the world to come. Antonius says to Rebbe, I don't get it. V'aksiv Shama Edom Milacheha V'chol Nisiyah. Right? This sounds like Eichel. Let's see if I'm right. No. This is a pasuk in Yechezkel. Is Edom her kings and all her presidents there in Gehenna? Oh, the descendants of Edom are in Gehenna. Amalei, Rebbe said to him, don't get nervous about this pasuk. That seems to indicate that all the leaders of Edom are assigned to Gehenna. No. It says Milachea, meaning amongst her kings, but not all her kings. Kol Nisiyah v'lo kol sareh. So there are always exclusions to the rule, and that's the Chasidi Umas HaOlam. Tanya Nam Yochri Abraisa that supports Malachim v'lo kol Malchea, v'kol Nisiyah v'lo kol sareh. Now, there were two Roman leaders, who will try to finish this up real fast, who deserve a place in the world to come. It says Malacheh v'lo kol Malacheh, Prat, who deserves a place in the world to come, Antoninus, and Kol Nisiyah lo Sareh, Prat l'K'tiyah bar Shalom. K'tiyah bar Shalom Mahi. Who is this K'tiyah bar Shalom that he deserves a place in the world to come? Davi Kisna, Davi Sani Liudoi. There was a certain Caesar who hated the Jews. He gathers in the dignitaries of his kingdom. And he asks him, Misha ololo nema biraglo. If there's dead flesh that develops on someone's foot, that's how he compares the Jews to dead flesh on the foot. Ukta'av yichya. He can cut it off and be healed. Or should he leave it there and he'll suffer? What should he do? And Amrullah, they all responded, Yaktiyahu v'yichya. He should cut him off and then he'll be healed. Let's eliminate the Jews. Amalahu Katina Bar Shalom. But Katina Bar Shalom apparently is one of the greats in that forum, and he got up and he said, Chada, first of all, lo yachlis lahu l'chulu. You're not going to be able to overcome them all. They're spread and dispersed throughout the entire world. The pasuk says, Ki bi arba ruchos shmai pirasti yatzchem. Right? I've set you all over the four directions of the heavens, scattered you all over my kamar. Badarton the arba ruchos. You say it means that God scattered the Jews in all four directions. Hi the arba ruchos. Why does it say like ke arba ruchos le arba ruchos? I should drop the chaf adimya. But rather God was drawing an analogy between Israel and the winds. Keshem sheyefshel liolam below ruchos kach yefshel liolam below Yisrael. There's no such thing as a world surviving without wind. And so it is impossible for the world to exist without Israel. V'yoden, furthermore, if you're going to eliminate the Jews, my friend Mr. Caesar, is karu lech malchus of the Ketiyah. They're going to call you a severing kingship. Because part of your population has been eliminated. Amalei, the Caesar says to Ketiyah, Meimar Shapir Ka'amar, you've spoken very well. Me, but we have a rule. Anyone who overcomes the king in any argument has to be put to death. Me who called the Zachi L'Malcha, anyone who prevails against the king with a successful argument, Shadu Leila Knuya Chlila, they put, there was a death chamber, and that's where we sent it to. Kiavi Noktina and Levi Aslina, they took Tia out to this chamber to put him to death. Amalei Ahimat Shanusa, a certain Matranusa called out to Katia, Vai Leila Ilfa di Azla below Michsa. Woe to the ship that goes with having paid its taxes. What's that all about? A ship that fails to pay the required duty is barred from docking at the harbor. And what she meant to say was, woe to you, Katia. It is for your support of the Jews that you're being executed. And yet, if you do not circumcise yourself, you will not be able to take a portion, receive a portion in the world to come. Nafal Reisha, the Ural say, so Katia fell upon the foreskin, and Kati cut it off. Omar, and he declared, Yahavis Michse, I paid my tax. Cholfis Viavris, I can leave this world and pass straight into the world to come. Ki Kashadi Le, when they were throwing him into this chamber, this death chamber, Omar, he declared, Kol Nachasei Rabbi Akiva V'Chaver, I hereby give over all my possessions to Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues, like his kola. Yotzer Rabbi Akiva Dorash, right? We don't know exactly what we do with this gift. Hoisa li'Aaron u'lebanov. So okay, you give Aaron separately and you give his son separately. Mechza li'Aaron and Mechza lebanov. Here too, Katia singled out Rabbi Akiva by name. He presumably meant to say that half of possessions will be given to Rabbi Akiva and the other half to the colleagues. Yotza Baskol V'Yomra Katia Bar Shalom Mizuman L'Chayolama. But we have a place for you here in the world to come. Bocha Rebbe V'Yom Yesh Kono Lomo B'Shah Achas. Yesh Kono Lomo B'Kam Shon. Meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu set the bar very high. Who could go to the world to come? Someone who's willing to give up his life for the sake of.
All right, Shkoya.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, got to run the show.
Why did Rebbe cry when he said Yesh Kono Lo M'Sha'achas? Rebbe was distressed upon realizing that heaven will use Katiya's behavior as a standard to judge all people by showing how much can be achieved in such a short time. Katiya's example challenges everyone to use his moments to their full potential and not waste a single one. Antoninus Shamshe le Rebbe. Antoninus waited, as we saw, upon Rebbe. And Adrachon Shamshe le Ra. So we were talking about the relationship, the special relationship between Antoninus and Rebbe. Now we're talking about a special relationship between somebody named of Adarkin and Rav, right? So one generation forward, Rav. And this fellow on Adarkin was a dignitary in one of the idolatrous nations, and the Gemara reports that when Antoninus died, Rebbe said, "Nisparda Chavila, I can no longer have a relationship with him. It's like the bundle has unraveled." And Kishachiv Adarkan, likely Rav said, "Nisparda Chavila." To add one last postscript about Chasidium Olam have a chelik l'olam haba, the Mishnah Sanhedrin points out in Perek HaChelek that Bilam will not receive a share in the world to come, and the implication is by singling out Bilam that other Gentiles will receive divine reward in the world to come. And the Gemara has a source for this from a pasuk in Tilim, Yashuva Rishoyim l'sha'ola kol goyim shecheche Elohim. The wicked will return to the grave, all peoples who forget God. And this verse, which refers to all of mankind, indicates that only these people who abandon the ways of God are condemned to the grave, but others will enjoy the life in the world to come. The Midrash states that Hashem does not discriminate between Jew and non-Jew in regard to giving a reward. The Tiferes Yisrael in Avos in the third parak says that even if Chazal had not made this point, we'd have reached the same conclusion on our own. It's self-evident in light of the fact that God is righteous in all his ways. V'chasid b'chol ma'asav, as we say in Ashrei, there can be no doubt that he, with the capital H, rewards every good deed, no matter who does that deed. And this reward could well be too great to be enjoyed in this world. It must be reserved for the highest levels in the world to come. All right, we'll stop here. Thank you.